The hierarchy and power of the DC universe shifted after the release of Black Adam, just not in the way DC fans or The Rock himself thought it would. DC Studios was formed with James Gunn and Peter Safran. Henry Cavill's long-awaited return as Superman was short-lived, and an entirely new slate of DC movies was announced, and plenty more changes are probably on the horizon. However, DC Studios is still pushing out the final slate of DCEU-era movies this year, which includes Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Since Black Adam and Shazam are forever interconnected with one another, which, by the way, someone should have told The Rock that before greenlighting Black Adam, I feel like now is the perfect time to finally find the answer to a lingering thought of mine. Was Black Adam really that bad? Black Adam sets itself apart from the superhero genre, and that could be said for positive and negative reasons. At its core, Black Adam's main goal was to try and break away from the superhero movie formula we're all far too familiar with. Rather than trying to be a superhero movie that explores a protagonist who gets superpowers bestowed upon them and ends up getting propelled forward thanks to them, Black Adam does something incredibly different. This movie explores Teth Adam, an anti-hero protagonist who's filled with rage due to the tragic loss of his son, doesn't play by the typical superhero rulebook, and ultimately ends up seeing his own superpowers as a curse. For the most part, that portion of Black Adam works in my opinion thanks to two reasons that go hand in hand with each other: Black Adam being a fish out of water, and shockingly, The Rock's acting. I know, a lot of people think that The Rock partially phoned it in with this role, but I actually disagree with that because I think what he did with the character worked to this movie's strengths. Throughout the entirety of the movie, Black Adam is a blank slate, and that's because he's thrown into the position of the viewer. He learns about the struggles of Kahndaq, the legacy his son left there, and who the Justice Society of America are. While it takes forever, he learns that his beliefs can change as well, and as you watch this movie, Black Adam creates this push and pull dynamic where you almost can't help but find yourself debating on the politics that this movie consistently bombards us with. Are the JSA hypocritical for saying that they're here to promote global stability despite Kahndaq never receiving any other help from the JSA whatsoever? Does Black Adam have a point when he says things like, "Not your son, not your country, not your decision"? Is Hawkman's perspective clouded by what he thinks are heroic values, considering there's far more going on in Kahndaq than just Black Adam's awakening? And since this portion of this movie's story presents these types of compelling questions or moral discussions, it actually highlights the anti-hero angle that Sony Pictures failed to highlight or achieve with Venom, Venom Let There Be Carnage, and Morbius. In my opinion, Black Adam shares every single perspective that is possible to have as you watch the movie. To the people of Kahndaq, Black Adam's a legitimate long-awaited hero. To Amanda Waller and the Justice Society of America, Black Adam's nothing more than a villain that has to be stopped. And finally, as a viewer, it's up to us to make our own decision as to how we feel about Black Adam as we walk away from the movie. It's interesting, it's refreshing, and unfortunately, it's probably the best aspect of this movie. Where Black Adam ultimately fails, or at least rapidly begins to drop in quality, is its lack of focus. In case you forgot, this movie attempts to balance the origins of Teth Adam, the origins of the JSA, the struggles and politics of Kahndaq, and on top of all of that, the origins of Sabbac, which becomes a complete afterthought until the last 20 minutes of the movie. What's frustrating about this is that Black Adam didn't need a villain in this movie. This movie should have just focused on introducing Black Adam and the JSA, eventually aligning their stories so they eventually clash, and the rest of the movie is a push and pull battle between those characters. Warner Brothers could have cut the entire final act of this movie involving the Sabbac versus the JSA and Black Adam final fight, and it would have genuinely made Black Adam a much better movie. To put into perspective how much harm the final act of this movie does, and hear me out on this, Let's compare the Batman to Black Adam. Upon the first watch, I did not like the final act of the Batman because it felt incredibly tacked on. I felt like the movie was dragging on and I simply wanted the movie to end. To me, it almost felt incredibly forced despite the amazing final set piece that is Batman fighting off Riddler's fans in Gotham Square Garden. However, upon multiple rewatches, I've grown to appreciate the payoff of the Batman's final act. I love the massive set piece, and I love the lasting effects it left on Gotham City and Bruce Wayne. I can't wait to see what happens in the upcoming Penguin show because I want to see how much things have shifted due to that flood that was left at the end of the Batman. With Black Adam, on the other hand, the final act has already aged poorly not too long after its release. The final act does nothing beyond allowing Dr. Fate's powers to be a visual effect highlight reel. The team up between the JSA and Black Adam feels unearned, even if Dr. Fate gives a great speech before Black Adam's second awakening. Sabac's presence doesn't feel powerful, effective, or worth the overly long yet somehow forgetful buildup, considering Black Adam quite literally rips him in half without any struggle at all. Ultimately, it feels like there was a missed opportunity because there's an alternate ending within this movie that it should have gone with instead. The alternate ending this movie should have gone with is ending right after Black Adam agrees to be submerged underwater after finally coming to the realization that his powers are doing more harm than good. The ideal or concept of this fish out of water character going through a massive learning curve, and that leading to him surrendering his powers willingly after a massive realization about them, thus finally letting him live up to a hero's mantle depending on the viewer's perspective by the end of the movie, would have been such an amazing ending. If this movie let that be the temporary ending to Black Adam's story, only to be immediately followed up with a fade to black moment that reintroduces the JSA actually trying to promote global stability by being far more involved with the people of Kahndaq and people talking about missing Black Adam or the presence of Black Adam since they saw him as the hero of their people, that would have felt far more connected to everything this movie attempts to discuss. It would have doubled down on this movie discussing Black Adam's internal fight with trying to be a protector more so than a hero, so he can only play by his rules. It would have allowed us as viewers to get the satisfaction of seeing the people of Kahndaq living a much deserved better life, and it would have done what was absolutely needed for the JSA, which is actually giving them far more depth. The JSA would have gone from feeling like two mentors and two rookies forcefully teaming up together because that's what the narrative asks of these characters, to feeling like a set of characters who grew from a team to an actual organization of heroes with room to expand for more. This hypothetical ending could have allowed the post-credit scenes to be far more meaningful by reintroducing another awakening for Black Adam, or by teasing Sabac's entrance to the DCU for a potential sequel instead of the false hope we were given by Henry Cavill's non-return in the actual post-credit scenes we have today. For what it's worth, I'm fully aware that this massive change will likely shorten Black Adam's total runtime to about an hour and 45 minutes, but I have to ask, did we need a 2 hours and 5 minute long Black Adam movie? Black Adam only had two goals that it needed to achieve: familiarizing the DC fanbase with Black Adam, considering Black Adam isn't a mainstream character at all, and establishing the JSA. It only achieved one out of those two things, which brings me to my core problem with the JSA overall. The JSA doesn't feel like a society, nor does the JSA feel like an actual superhero team in this movie like they should. What the movie wants you to believe is that the Justice Society of America has been around for a long time. They want you to buy into the fact that, for whatever random reason, Amanda Waller secretly has the JSA under control in case she needs them for an emergency, like an ancient god being awoken. The problem, though, is that the JSA JSA feels like a mentor program. In Black Adam, the JSA is literally just two mentors who are old friends that happen to find two rookies that were worthy of being taken under their wing for their massive mission, Hawkman pun not intended. With this being so notable in Black Adam, it makes the JSA feel like they have no depth at all. This issue makes it hard for us to fully buy into Dr. Fate and Hawkman's friendship, doesn't allow genuinely likable characters like Cyclone and Atom Smasher to shine, and ruin concepts such as Hawkman saying, "We're here to promote global stability." A line like "we're here to promote global stability" should be powerful. It should have depth thanks to previous movies building the JSA up and having that line be a long-awaited, well-earned moment. Or it should have at least been far more believable because this movie alone dedicated enough time to make us believe that the JSA has historically promoted global stability. There are so many ways this movie could have fixed the problem, whether it's through flashbacks, showing Amanda Waller help with the formation of the JSA, having a flashback to the JSA actually promoting global stability in the past after Hawkman says this line, or the JSA actually owning a real headquarters that has old superhero suits in a glass case with lights over them, news clippings, or posters of the JSA in action rather than the JSA owning a really cool spaceship. The main reason this heavily stands out is because every single member of the JSA is likable, but this movie doesn't dedicate an equal amount of time to every single one of these members. Every single JSA member stands out when the movie allows them to have the opportunity to stand out. Whether it's Hawkman having this heroic stance for everything, regardless if someone disagrees with him, Dr. Fate doing such a stellar job at showcasing why knowing the future is such a weight on his shoulders, or Atom Smasher and Cyclone simply clicking with each other, which allowed them to have lovable moments in Black Adam. The chosen roster for this JSA works. However, Black Adam feels like it only stars Black Adam, Hawkman, Dr. Fate, Adriana, and Adriana's son, Amon. Atom Smasher and Cyclone feel like complete afterthoughts at times, and it's incredibly frustrating because those two characters feel like they could have been the heart of this movie. Their young, overly eager, we can do it attitude and lack of superhero experience could have been used as the perfect counterbalance to Dr. Fate and Hawkman's perspectives. Rather than only using those characters as repeated comedic bits, Atom Smasher and Cyclone's youth should have been used to help pivot Dr. Fate and Hawkman. If they put an effort into connecting with the people of Kahndaq so they could actually understand what's going on in Kahndaq, that could have allowed Atom Smasher and Cyclone to become the voice of reason. That would have forced the JSA into making decisions that don't just favor their perspectives, or Dr. Fate at the very least would have heard Atom Smasher and Cyclone out. There wouldn't have been such harsh differences in perspectives nor such a lack of communication on both sides for such a big portion of this movie. That key change would have made this entire storyline feel a little less comic booky and a little more realistic, which would have worked in favor of Black Adam as a whole. What frustrates me the most about Black Adam's lack of focus is that had Black Adam been a far more focused superhero movie, Black Adam could have been special. A focused Black Adam movie would have told a story that's all about the matter of perspective. It wouldn't have a final act that felt forced. It wouldn't feel like it's too busy trying to check off checkboxes so it could meet certain criteria expected from the superhero genre. It would have been an experience that allows the viewer to walk away with their own opinion that doesn't necessarily line up with their friends or family's opinion. An experience that would have allowed us to truly debate about the perspectives presented in this movie. Do you fall in line with Black Adam, who grows to unintentionally become the protector of Kahndaq along with the people of Kahndaq who are fighting for their freedom? Do you fall in line with the JSA, who potentially doesn't understand the entire situation going on with Kahndaq because they're clouded by their singular goal of taking down Black Adam? This alternate version of Black Adam would have put us, the viewers, through a push and pull experience that would have led us to potentially say that Black Adam is DC's Civil War, but better. I say that because, in my opinion, Black Adam does handle its political discussion and themes far better than Captain America's Civil War did. Since the people of Kahndaq are the heart of Black Adam, it's not Sabbac, it's not the JSA, and it's not Black Adam. The heart of this movie is the persistent theme of fighting for freedom. That's why this movie is better than people give it credit for. I know that I just spent the whole entirety of this video attempting to fix Black Adam conversationally, but I do have to give credit where credit's due. Black Adam covers a topic that isn't covered in the superhero genre like it is in other franchises such as Star Wars, to give an example. I'd also like to say that Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, being a disappointing movie that has a similar subplot that covers these themes in a poorly done manner, played a role in my newfound appreciation for Black Adam as well. Black Adam isn't just about the tragic origin story of Teth Adam. Black Adam isn't just about a group of superheroes being sent out on a risky mission to take down a literal living legend. Black Adam is about the people of Kahndaq's fight for freedom, bringing these two subplots together, which ultimately leads to two massively opposing sides eventually finding a common ground for the greater good. And because of that, I think I'm always going to appreciate Black Adam. Yeah, it's a bit messy. Yeah, the movie isn't perfect. Yeah, it has a final act that feels entirely shoehorned in. However, Black Adam is at least enjoyable thanks to the few risks that it was willing to take. Plus, The Rock doesn't get enough credit for not playing himself throughout this movie. He actually does a good enough job playing this ancient god who's been suddenly reawakened and ends up finding a newfound appreciation for not only his son, but the place he once wanted nothing to do with. The JSA, despite not giving all four members an equal amount of screen time, was an enjoyable group of characters that I'd love to see more of. The visual effects, in my opinion, do deserve a mention as well, because you actually feel the weight of every character's superpowers or movement throughout the movie. At the end of the day, I don't need superhero movies to be perfect. Black Adam is flawed, yes, but in my opinion, it's not nearly as bad as people say it is. The hierarchy and power of the DC universe did shift after the release of this movie, but unfortunately, the chapter of Black Adam in the JSA immediately closed upon this movie's release as well. Hopefully, James Gunn is willing to at least revisit the JSA not too far from now in the newly formed DC universe.